Cadbury's Cream Egg Nail tutorial. So on this particular set I've already started by laying my clear base on my tips. Then you're going to go in with the chocolate colour, ironically. Now this is a design powder, it's not a core powder, so you do have to cap it. So I always make sure with design powders I use a clear base underneath and then I cap that in clear as well. And while I've got you, if you're enjoying this one, please do make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss any future tutorials. And if there's anything you want to see as well, let me know in the comments. I'll leave you to watch this and I'll come back in a moment when we're ready to start adding the really exciting parts. So next you're going to measure up this. Now I laid the foil out. I tried to flatten it as carefully as possible and I laid it under a book just to try and get it as flat as possible before I did this set. So once I've done that, I will measure it where I want it on my nail and then I will go in with the Pro Impressions glue. This glue is fantastic. It's my go-to for anything, for charms, anything like that. So I applied that and then I kind of straightened that up as much as possible and then I glued any extra bits down. So like above the E where the two yellow splats are, I glued those down separately because obviously I didn't want too much glue on top of where the acrylic was, where I was going to be capping, as it might make it a bit untidy. This glue set so quickly I was able to then just literally pull the end off, but you might want to do that with your scissors or a file. Just make sure you don't rip any of your design as well. So with this one, then I measured this up and I didn't want to kind of overhang it too much and I wanted to be able to cap round it, so I didn't go quite to the edge of the nail, so because I didn't want to lose anything either when I was filing. So again, go in with your glue and I placed that just at the side of the nail, leaving maybe, I think, about a mil underneath it, just to allowed me a bit of space for filing and for the acrylic to go over it. And once I do that, I actually kept it whole and then I kind of pressed it down just to secure it, left it for a second, then went in with my scissors and I trimmed it that way. I just found that was the best way to get the best fit on the nail. So again, tried to leave a little bit of space there and that just glued straight down there. There was no issues and I had a bit of space either side. Again, it's the same process for all of these. So it's just make sure you've got your glue. Always leave it for a second just to make sure it's nice and tacky. But this glue dries literally in maybe 2 to 3 seconds, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. But again, you're just going to go in there, try and line that up and just make sure you're accounting for the curve in the nail as well, because these are quite curved nails. So again, I placed that down and then I trimmed it off when it was on the nail. If you are working on a client, just be very, very careful with your scissors. I tried to use a slightly blunt edge scissors rather than any of my sharper ones, so obviously if I was working on a real human being rather than Angelina, I wouldn't want to cut her. So once you've got all those and you're happy with them, leave them for just a moment and then you're going to go in and cap them in clear. So I start with the bead around about halfway down the nail. I try not to play with it too much, but then you're going to, just using the belly of your brush, just gently coax that down the nail. This will mean that if you're not prodding it and patting it too much, you don't end up with too many air bubbles in it. And I have to say these were really smooth afterwards. But it means that also that you kind of get a really nice shape without having to file too much. So then you're going to go in, you're going to get that pesky little bit of glitter or whatever it was out of your acrylic. Then you're going to make sure the back of that bead is nice and flush so the acrylic you put by the cuticle isn't having to work over it. Then just really gently blend that down the nail. Then you'll go in with the cuticle bead and then you're going to just tuck that up nicely into the cuticle just to make it really nice and secure. Go down the sides, keeping your apex in place, and then just blend that in with the bead in front of it. I use a slightly different method here on this one just to show you a few different options. This one I go in with the cuticle bead first, and I tuck that in at the cuticle. Always work on your cuticle first because it'll dry the quickest as well. And then I gently blended that down the nail. Then once I do that, I go in with the bead probably about halfway up the nail. I'll go in with a larger bead and just blend that backwards. And that one basically will then go to the end of the tip and you'll shape that and use your brush to get that into shape. If you keep your nail tilted down as well, the gravity will help you and it means you don't need to play with that acrylic too much. So once I've done all of that, I go in with some builder gel on my palette and I will blend it with a little bit of orange and yellow on one side for the fondant, for the yellow fondant centre. And then I did it with the builder gel and some white. And this is obviously for the main white fondant that you've got. Then I got my Nails by Dev brush once I'd done all that and I was happy with the consistency. I'd mixed that with the builder gel, like I said, just to thin it out so it wasn't as thick. Then I went in with my Nails by Dev 9mm, or I beg your pardon, no, it was the long liner brush that I've got back from Nails by Dev. I will make sure I link it below for you. And then I just basically place the fondant on there and just have it dripping down. It's really quite simple, this, and also gravity helps you out a little bit. And the nice thing about using the builder gel was it actually meant that it was quite thick, and it meant that it had a real 3D effect. So then once you've done that, just pop a little bit of yellow. I think I picked a little bit too much up on my brush there, but we work and we move with it. So then you'll pop a little bit on the top of that, just so I placed that at the top so it looked like the centre of the yolk was spilling out. And then in a few parts as well, I went back in with the orange and placed just a tiny bit because I wasn't curing it straight away. It had a bit of a chance to kind of move and blend out with the other orange and yellow in there, so it had a really, really nice effect in the end. So again, I'll do this on all of the nails, and then once I've done that, I'll cure. I did cure the white before this as well, actually, as well. I should probably note that. Again, full cure 60 seconds. Because it's thicker, do make sure you cure it. Then using the same Nails by Dev long liner brush, I go back in and I coat that all in top coat. I had already top coated the nails underneath, so I'm literally only top coating the egg fondant here. I hope that helps. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please do drop me a like and let me know what you want to see next in the comments.